of my life. I started
building a personal brand business is.
Okay, let's start
What
with
are people raving about? How can I do more of that?
our culture, this instant gratification.
I'm going to do this. It's attached to a meeting, so we remember who agreed what.
part 3 of this framework is to create raving fans.
It asked, am I Hawaiian? Because
Hey there, Shakers. Welcome back to another episode of Worth Your Salt, the podcast that's here to supercharge your marketing in the health and wellness space. I'm Jennifer Orechwa, StoryBrand certified coach and author of Get Found, Get Booked. And over the past 2 decades, my team and I have tested, iterated, and figured out what it takes to market and grow so you don't have to. Now I'm here to help you apply the marketing systems that truly work. At Salt Marketing, we're all about helping wellness practitioners like you build trust, authority, and a nonstop flow of clients. So if you're ready to take your practice to the next level, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Here's a scenario I want you to think about. A potential patient finds your med spa online at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. They have questions. Maybe they want to book a consultation, but your front desk is closed, your inbox is full, and by morning, they've already booked somewhere else. Sound familiar? For so many of the med spa owners that I work with, the problem isn't that they're not doing enough marketing. The problem is that the systems behind the scenes aren't set up to capture the patients that marketing is sending their way. So today I'm sitting down with someone who is on the front lines of solving this exact problem. Shannon Blake is the Director of Aesthetics Partnerships at Podium, the AI operating system that is completely modernizing the way modern med spas attract, communicate with, and convert their ideal patients. Shannon has spent her career building strategic partnerships that help businesses grow, from eBay to Podium, and now she's focused exclusively on helping aesthetics practices stop losing leads and start building real, lasting patient relationships. So if you've ever wondered whether AI could actually work in a med spa setting, or if you already know it could and you just need to know how to get started, this episode is for you. Shannon, welcome to Worth Your Salt.
Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer. I'm thrilled to be here.
So before we dive in, for listeners who haven't come across Podium yet, I'm sure that group is small, but how do you describe what it is and who it's built for?
Oh man, so we are hyper-focused on the aesthetics industry. So that's inclusive of medical spas, plastic surgeons, wellness centers. And how do I put this simply? So over the last 2 years, we have been the go-to solution for consolidating client communication and lead consolidation. So I'm talking like bringing your Google ads, your Facebook ads, your website leads, everything into a single platform and turning them into text conversations, as well as managing all of the texting and the phone conversations. And over the last 2 years, we've also recognized that we absolutely needed an integration with some of the commonly used EMRs in this space in order for our AI employee to have the superpower we needed her to have and access to the data, but we couldn't get the integrations we needed. And all the while, we were also hearing feedback that nobody loved their EMR, that it was a necessary evil. And we thought, why don't we just go build the whole damn thing ourselves? And so we were really excited in January to come out with the first AI operating system in aesthetics. And that is inclusive of it's your EMR, your CRM, your text marketing, your email marketing, all in a single modern platform. So it's all centered around AI employees, though. I'm just excited to dive into what that means.
Amazing. Now, you came from the world of e-commerce and major consumer brands like eBay before landing in aesthetics. What drew you to this space? What made you want to focus specifically on med spas and aesthetic practices?
Well, it's interesting. So at Podium or at eBay, I was there for 9 years and I got to be involved in an initiative that we were running called Retail Revival. And the idea was e-commerce was obviously taking off and these local brick and mortar stores were struggling. And so we put together a program to help these local companies bring their products online and make them available to buyers across the world, which was really neat. It got me really excited about supporting local businesses because they are the heartbeat of all of our communities. And when Podium, I caught wind of Podium being a local tech company in my area. We're in Utah, near Salt Lake City. And I thought, I really love this local business side of things. And so applied to manage all the partnerships and was actually just managing traditional healthcare partnerships. So think more like your traditional medical clinics, dental, chiropractor. And all the while, I started noticing a big increase in fast growing industry, which was the aesthetics industry. And I thought, you know what, we have a really good product that could solve the speed to lead issue in this industry. And so pitched it to our executives, and we decided to reorganize the entire company. Podium's a big company. We have just over 1,000 employees. We work with 100,000 local businesses, but I wanted to be able to have 1/3 of our company go all in on aesthetics. And I'm talking like a sales team that just sells into aesthetics, an onboarding team that only onboards aesthetic practices, engineers that build products just for aesthetics. And I got my way. So we're 2.5 years into it and have the pleasure of working with over 2,500 practices across the US.
Amazing. And you kind of alluded to this a minute ago, but when you talk to med spa owners for the first time, what's the first frustration you hear over and over again when it comes to managing leads and patient communication?
It's fragmentation. Up to this point, I always thought was interesting because the aesthetics industry is considered a very modern industry. It hasn't been around really that long, yet the technology and software that supported this industry was very old and antiquated, and nobody did a really great job from a software perspective in bringing everything into one solution. So this will probably resonate with a lot of aesthetic practices is you've got usually 3 to 5 different systems where you've got your leads going into various places. You've maybe got some going into your CRM if you even have one. You've got some leads going into an email inbox somewhere that you've got to sift through to find those amongst a bunch of other emails. There's just a lot of fragmentation. And so it was really exciting to come out this year with the one full all-in-one solution for these practices. So the fragmentation goes away and no longer is there a need for integrations.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that simplicity of that. All right, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but I'm too excited to not get here. Let's start talking about Avery. That's Podium's AI employee. So for someone who's never heard of an AI employee, what does Avery actually do on a day-to-day basis for a med spa?
Yeah, so we took Avery to market about 2 years ago, the initial version of Avery, and she was possible because of honestly OpenAI. Y'all know this by now. Everyone plays around with ChatGPT. Some of you have probably moved on to Anthropic's Claude, for example, but that AI being released 3 or 4 years ago allowed us to start building the first AI employee for aesthetics. And her initial purpose was we know this industry is saturated. We know that leads are coming in all 24/7, right? 40% of leads are coming in after hours when these aesthetic practices are closed. So we thought that could be really cool to have an AI employee be trained by practice, understand everything about that practice, their membership, if they offer it, what comes with each level, what's the cancellation rate, what services do they offer, how do they speak about those services, what's the pain level for each service, what's the downtime, like literally everything, so that this AI employee could respond within 2 minutes to every single lead coming in, even those ones after hours. So that was her initial problem she wanted to solve was speed to lead, even after hours, 24/7, 365 a year, and just answer questions and keep those leads warm.
So one thing I hear all the time from practice owner is they say things like, I don't want AI talking to my patients. Like it feels impersonal. So how do you respond to that concern? What does the actual patient experience look like when Avery's part of the team?
Yeah, I think people that have that feeling, it makes complete sense because the aesthetics industry is built on relationships. I personally feel like that's why they are disrupting and will continue to disrupt in the healthcare space is the ambiance and the vibe and the energy and the relationships that you have with the folks that you go and see at your aesthetic practice is different. It's different in every way than a traditional medical family practice, for example. And so I think that was the first thing was we needed to recognize that that was a very real concern from aesthetic practices. And then we thought, you know what, we just need to have people, we need to get out there and show what AI employees are capable of today because it's different. Once OpenAI came out, which has now turned into, you guys know this, there's a bunch of different large language models, aka LLMs, such as OpenAI and Anthropic, that make these AI employees light years ahead of what you probably are used to when you hear AI. Like back in the day, those bots were very, you could tell they weren't a real human, right? But AI has come a long way and continues to grow literally every day. It gets better and better so that your AI employee should feel like a human. It should sound like a human. The folks on the other end should not be able to tell the difference between an AI employee and somebody who's working your front desk. In fact, your AI employee should be more human. It should be feel more connected, more emotional, more professional, more accurate than even your typical front desk rep.
So tell me how Avery is actually interacting with patients. Is it sending texts? Is it sending emails? Does it have a voice? How does this actually work?
Yeah, so today, Avery is primarily messaging. So when I say that, she is replying via text. So any texts that are coming in, she's texting back, or if they're coming in through a social media channel, DMing you, for example, she is DMing them right back. So all things messaging. She is going to have a voice in the coming months. We've already put out a voice product in some other industries that we're in. But with aesthetics, it's a very nuanced, very complex industry with a lot of different services and treatments that are constantly changing, evolving by the day. And so it just makes voice a little bit more difficult because, as you know, like when you're texting someone, a 30-second delay is not a big deal. But on a phone conversation, you got to be quick. Otherwise, it's awkward. And so we're trying to perfect the voice side of things, and we're getting pretty damn close. So Avery will have a voice in the coming months, but today she is primarily texting and messaging through social media.
So med spas are often running on a patchwork of different systems. We've got their EMR, their CRM, their booking platform, their phone system, and none of them really talk to each other. So how does Podium fit into that existing ecosystem?
We replace them all. So you can essentially think if you have Podium, you no longer need your EMR. If you have Podium, you no longer need your Go High Level or the CRM that you're using today. And it also replaces any phone system you're using, any texting platform, any text marketing or email marketing platform. You can cancel all of those and go all in on Podium. So here's the thing that everyone needs to realize, like, for Podium, we know the growth is happening with AI. And we know that there's a lot of really unpopular work or ungratifying work that has to be done by these aesthetic practices that are very, very task based. It's not why people got in this industry. They got in this industry because they like to help patients and help encourage, like, get the best possible patient outcomes. But all of the software stuff, all the task stuff like scheduling is not everyone's favorite thing to do. And it's very time consuming. So what we wanted to do was have this AI employee. And now that Podium is the EMR, where the scheduling, the charting, the forms, the payments, Avery, the AI employee, now has access to everything about your practice. She knows everything about each of your clients. She knows if they're on a treatment plan and if they're on track to completing that treatment plan. She knows what products they've purchased. So she knows purchasing behavior. She knows if somebody canceled an appointment and they haven't rescheduled. Like, think about how powerful that is, because now that Podium is that full AI operating system, that we're your scheduler, Avery isn't just keeping leads warm after hours. She's scheduling appointments. So you no longer need your team, your front desk team, to manage scheduling, rescheduling, cancellations. You can completely offload that to your AI employee. And then things start to get really exciting when you think about being able to ask her things like, hey, give me a schedule analysis for next week. Where do we have schedule gaps? And I want you to give me recommendations on who you will text out and try to get those folks on our books to fill those schedule gaps. Because she has access to all that information now, because it's all in one platform, things start to get really exciting. So we're getting ready to launch another product that we're still landing on a name. Right now it's Operator, might be Avery for Business, we don't know. But having that like internal AI assistant for you that could access and give you information on any part of your business from a simple message into them, it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to change the game, honestly, Jennifer.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. I love that. So good. So from your perspective, what's the real cost in dollars or lost patients of not moving in this direction, of not adopting these sort of systems?
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it from, there's a lot of lost time. The amount of time that your teams use sifting through and like working out of different platforms, checking leads coming in from the DMs, going into emails and finding those leads, duplicating work in like your CRM and your EMR and making sure that the patient information's in your CRM as well, or manually managing the statuses of every lead. Like, it's all just extremely time consuming, and it's
Mhm.
almost impossible for a human to manage that all well. And so there's the time piece of it. But if you even think about the lost revenue from not replying to a lead within consumer expectations, which in this industry is 2 minutes or less, because
Mhm.
we all have very short attention spans. If you just put the numbers and cents behind, like, what is your conversion rate when you do talk to a lead? And how many could you potentially be missing? Not to mention like missed calls. all of y'all are having missed calls. Some of them are during business hours, but some of it comes in after business hours. If you knew you could have somebody engaging with every single lead in under 2 minutes, just think about what that could do for your conversion rate. So it obviously varies by practice and what their volume is, but it's a very meaningful amount of revenue. And the practices that don't jump on board and leverage AI, they will not be able to compete because there's only so many hours in the day, and your employees are not working 24/7. You don't want them to. That's called burnout. So you really have an advantage when you take advantage of an AI employee in this industry, this competitive industry.
Yeah. And Shannon, I love how you're putting words to something that so many of our listeners feel but can't quite name. It's that gap between great marketing and the systems that they have to actually catch those leads when they come in. So right now I have to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to get into the real world results, what actually happens when a med spa turns this on, what changes, and how the outcomes that owners are seeing are going exponential. Back in a minute.
I've tried memberships, I've joined programs, I've downloaded templates and followed coaches and bought courses, and I still didn't get results.
Sound familiar? Listen, I get it. You're not new to this. You've spent time, energy, and money trying to figure out marketing for your wellness practice, and you're tired of feeling like you're always doing, but never actually getting anywhere. So let me ask you, are you marketing a wellness business, or are you just staying busy? Because here's the truth that no one talks about. Most programs give you more tactics, more to-dos, more overwhelm. The Salted Edge, it gives you a system. A repeatable, scalable system built specifically for wellness businesses. So instead of spinning your wheels, you actually make measurable progress. It's not about working harder. You've already done that. It's about doing the right things in the right order with the tools, the support, and the shortcuts that let you finally get results from your marketing efforts without burning out. If you've been burned before, good. That means you're ready for something that actually works. And that's what the Salted Edge is. All right, we're back with Shannon Blake from Podium. And before the break, we were talking about what Podium is and why so many med spas are dealing with the same painful pattern. Great marketing, but leads slipping through the cracks because the back-end systems can't keep up. Now I want to get into what actually happens when you fix that. Let's talk about outcomes. When a med spa implements Podium, particularly the AI employee Avery, what are some of the real changes they start to see, and how quickly do they see those changes?
Yeah, so the change is immediate because if you think about as soon as you onboard onto Podium, you've now got your leads flowing into a single inbox, every single lead. I'm talking your Google ads, your Facebook ads, your Instagram ads, your website leads, your texts. And Avery, your AI employee, is immediately taking those over. So what we see on average from our clients is an immediate 40% increase in conversion rate. So that looks different for all of you. You have to consider like what are your average price points because some of you have higher ticket items than others. But if you could increase your conversion rate by 40% just by implementing an AI employee, what does that do for your revenue?
Yeah, can you share a success story? I mean, not naming names if you need, but of a practice that might have been struggling with lead follow up or patient follow through, and what that experience looked like after they got Podium in place.
Yeah, we had a practice right here in Murray, Utah that was struggling just due to staff limitations on getting back to, they were really big in hair restoration was one of their higher ticket items at the practice. And by implementing just on their website, having a text feature that collects name, question, cell phone number, moved it to an AI employee, they brought in $1 million additional revenue from just being fast and engaging with those leads while they were interested and getting them on the schedule immediately. So it's highly meaningful, and obviously that's a very high priced ticket item. But again, it goes back to if you can have a 40% lift in your conversion numbers from leads coming in, what does that do for your revenue based on your services and your average price?
Yeah, and if you can convert those high ticket items, imagine what can it do for sort of the everyday kind of things that keep the place alive. So on the opposite side of that, reviews are such a huge part of how patients choose a med spa. So how does Podium help practices actually build and manage their online reputation, not just hope patients leave a review?
Yeah, this is fun to talk about. We don't talk about this enough at Podium. And funny enough, Jennifer, when Podium got started back in 2014, building software, all we got really good at was helping local businesses collect Google reviews. And it was just that switch of, it was back when businesses were starting to be textable. Before that, it was all email and phone. So we would come into a local business, take their business number, make it to a textable, and then make it really easy for them to send a link out to a customer or client who had just checked out and just said, thank you so much for trusting us with X service. It would mean the world to us if you would leave us a review. Click on the link and it will take you right to where you leave a review. And it was that simple piece that we simplified the process. It wasn't requesting Google reviews through email anymore or doing nothing. Some businesses were just hoping people would leave reviews out of the kindness of their heart, which is not a strategy. But that was our initial flagship product, and it took off like wildfire. So it's still very much a feature that we offer. And now that we are the full operating system, upon checkout, when someone leaves the practice, that client gets a text before they even get into their car that's asking them to leave a Google review. And it makes the process really simple for them because they just click on that link in the text and then they leave their star rating, their comment, they hit post, and that immediately goes up onto Google, playing into Google's algorithm on where that local business is ranking when someone's searching for a practice like theirs.
Perfect. Yep. I love that. That's so good. So text marketing is something a lot of med spas are curious about, but nervous to try. So how does Podium's approach to text-based communication differ from what people might think of as like spammy mass texting?
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually answer this in two parts. So before we started building what we're, again, not sure what we're going to call it, maybe Podium Avery for Business or Operator, I'm going to talk about how we thought about text marketing, and then I want to talk about how that's going to change when we launch this new feature. So a couple important things with text marketing. The practice needs to understand. You want your text marketing to have a couple things. You want it coming from your business line. The thing you want to avoid is a text marketing promotion going out from like a 5-digit. You guys get these all the time, I'm sure, from other companies. It's like a 5-digit number. There's just something about it coming from the practice where your clients have your number saved in their phone and it's from them. And then also you want to make sure that whatever texting platform you're using is all two-way texting. Because here's the thing, if you're sending out a promotion and that lead or that client has like a small point of clarification or they just have a question about it, you want them to very easily be able to reply back to your promotion, ask any questions they might have before they pull the trigger on scheduling. So I think those are a couple important things. And then also making sure that it's personable, right? You want that text promotion to not be generic. So you want to start that text conversation out with addressing them by their first name, for example, and then making sure that there's always a call to action, like what's the next step if they want to take advantage of the promo. And then, of course, with text marketing, you want to make sure that you aren't sending a promo out to every single client and just hoping something sticks. You want to be targeted and strategic. So with Podium, it's nice because you can give a single lead or a client as many, we'll call them tags, as you want. So maybe you want to segment your VIP membership folks from like the individuals that are coming in consistently for Botox, from your highest spenders, and give them different like tags, personas almost, so that when you go to send out a text marketing campaign, you can send it to certain buckets of your clients and be a little bit more targeted that way. So those are all important things to have in your text marketing solution. But I would say the future of text marketing is kind of what I was talking about earlier. So for example, you will be able to ask inside Podium to your Avery for Business, I would love to send out a promotion to anyone who has ever called in, because remember, Podium's your phones too. So every conversation is recorded, transcribed, and Avery has access to all those conversations. Anyone we've spoken to on the phone, anyone who's texted in, anyone who's taken advantage of a promotion or responded to an ad we did on Google about a certain service. And I want you to go out and send out a promotion to those folks about whatever that promotion is. So you will no longer you won't have to almost even worry about tags literally in the next couple months, because you'll just be able to ask your AI assistant, Avery, to message out this promo to anyone who's shown interest in a certain service, for example, and just give her guidance. And then she will go out and spread the word and start texting those individuals directly.
Brilliant. We talk a lot about that at Soul Marketing. We talk constantly about the patient journey from the moment somebody first hears about your practice, the moment they become a loyal, raving fan. And that segmentation is part of that. So where does Podium live in that journey? How does it support each stage?
Oh, I mean, now that we're the full operating system, Jennifer, there's not a stage we don't. So, like, actually, let me back up. There are folks like y'all and other agencies that help do the actual ads, for example, and drive the leads. That is like top of funnel. Podium does not play in that world. I would say the smallest piece we play in that is we put more reviews on Google for local businesses than any other company. So we do help you generate leads through your reputation and where you're placed on Google. But outside of that, we're not doing digital marketing for y'all, managing any of that strategy. But once you get the lead, that is where Podium steps in. Obviously, our AI employee engages with that lead and gets them on the calendar because we're the scheduler. So Avery can fully book. And then from the moment or even the consent forms, Avery takes care of all of those. So she can create your forms for you, but she also sends them out right when the appointment is booked. And then if they haven't filled out the forms, she's sending reminders to make sure those forms get filled out, because y'all know once they're in your practice, you don't want to waste any time with them filling out forms. You want to make sure that's done beforehand. And then when they check in, you've got like your AI charting, so that you can just press play and conversations recorded. Avery's putting all the relevant information into the chart, so you're not having to have a human do that. So Avery's very much part of even the actual procedure and just the conversation that's happening and what procedure is being done in those details. And then checkout is Podium's obviously the payment processing as well. So just making sure that that checkout is smooth. And she's everywhere in between. She's also, we're memberships too. So it's going to get really fun to be able to also ask your AI assistant if there's anyone who has money in the bank that they're not spending. Proactively reach out to them when they reach this amount of dollars and make sure that they know how much money they have pending, and inquire about what treatments they might be interested in, bring them back in. So it's literally from like the moment the lead gets there to retention to reoccurring appointments, and it's everything in between. So really the only thing we're not doing is building websites and driving leads.
Yeah, so good. All right, Shannon, it's time for another quick break. We're going to be right back after this. You're listening to Salt Marketing's Worth Your Salt podcast, where we help wellness entrepreneurs attract, connect with, and nurture their ideal audience so they can grow with confidence. I'm your host, Jennifer Orechwa, and my guest today is Shannon Blake, Director of Aesthetics Partnerships at Podium. Shannon is helping med spas and aesthetics practices use AI-powered communication tools to stop losing leads, build stronger patient relationships, and create the kind of consistent, responsive experience that turns first-time visitors into loyal, long-term clients. Now, if something you hear today sparks an idea about how your practice is handling patient communication, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and let us know what resonated. We're back, and Shannon, before the break, you walked us through what Podium actually does and shared some of the outcomes that practices are seeing when they put those systems in place, from capturing more leads to building a stronger online reputation. Now, I want to make sure that this is really actionable for our listeners, because I know there are people driving to work right now thinking, okay, I need this, but where do I even start? So let's walk them through it. If a med spa owner is listening and they're nodding along, maybe they know that they're losing leads after hours, their front desk is drowning in calls, what's the very first thing they should do this week?
Yeah, I would say go to podium.com/aesthetics. We just revamped the website to have our absolute latest features that we have launched. You're going to see how other practices are using it. You'll see actual visuals of the platform. You'll be able to look at each feature broken down and exactly what capabilities each feature has. You're going to see a lot about Avery. So I would say, just to better understand the full platform, I would stop by our website. And again, that's podium.com/aesthetics. But I also love when practices call me or text me and we can just like talk through what issues they're having, what are their biggest pain points, how Podium specifically can solve those pain points. So I'm also going to give out my cell number. I know that's crazy to do, but I love
It's a little crazy.
I know. And so it's 801. And if you're driving, don't save this. You can listen to this again later.
We'll put it in the show notes. So.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But it's 801-979-8096. And it's Shannon Blake. So
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll put, like I said, we'll put that in the show notes. So if you're driving, please don't try and write that down right now. But let's talk about the team side of this. Like a lot of owners worry that introducing AI will create confusion for their staff or that their team might even resist it. So what does that onboarding experience look like? How do you help practices get going and get their team on board?
Yeah. One thing I do want to say about this, because you're right, I think we're even getting to the point where people are starting to worry about their jobs a bit. And I would say to put these owners' minds at ease, I think the way you position this to your team is your front desk specifically is doing a lot. They are answering phones, they're checking people out, they're checking people in, they're talking about retail products that are on the shelf, they're rescheduling people. Like there's a lot going on for them. So positioning this for them as they have an assistant. A lot of the busy work will be off their plates, and it's going to be more critical than ever that you're leveraging your front desk, for example, to have those human connections and be 100% present when your clients are in your practice. So it allows them to really nail that check in and check out experience and just build those relationships. So I just wanted to call that out. But for any aesthetic practices coming onto Podium, what they can expect is for 60 days, they have a dedicated onboarding manager that's right here at our headquarters in Salt Lake City, Utah. And their job is to get obviously all the systematic stuff connected, get your Facebook connected, your Instagram, get your Google My Business page connected, get all your information from your website and additional information about your practice in the back end of Avery. We call it AI Studio. That's Avery's brain. So we handhold you through that whole process. And then after the 60 days, you get transitioned to your client success manager, who's also here local at our headquarters in Utah. And that is your partner in crime for the rest of the time you're with Podium. You have the ability to schedule trainings with them. Their job is to make sure you're optimizing the full platform and know how to use it because we do so much. Sometimes that can feel overwhelming. So they're really your friend there to make sure you know how to use everything. Your team is trained on whatever they need to be trained for in the platform because your front desk needs to be trained on different stuff than your practitioners, your physicians, obviously. They need to have that detail around like the charting experience, but your front desk needs a lot of training on the check-in, check-out, payment piece, and all that fun stuff. So, but yeah, we try to be where we try to be different, Jennifer, is for these other EMR companies, we have heard a lot of feedback that it's very difficult to get issues resolved quickly or to even talk to a human. And so, right inside Podium on the homepage, we have a picture of your client success manager and a way for you to schedule a meeting with them, call them, chat with them, text with them, whatever is your preferred form of communication. We don't want to hide who's available to support you. We want to make it really easy. So I feel like we absolutely slay in that perspective is the customer service and accessibility when they have an idea about a product or they want more training or they just have a question about something.
That's so important. And especially with busy practitioners. I mean, you need an answer in that moment. You don't need to wait 24 hours because you're busy, seeing patients and then you're trying to solve the tech problems too. So that's super important. And I love what you said about telling your team that basically you've hired an AI employee as their assistant. I think that's a really good phrase. That's a good way to put it. So
Yeah.
once Podium is up and running, obviously revenue is going to be like our golden standard on metric. But what are two or three of the metrics that a practice owner should be paying attention to? How do they know it's working?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, I couldn't wait for this day for us to be like the payment processor as well as the scheduler because they're your reporting can only be as good as the information that you have inside the single system. So, luckily now we have all the information we need around lead conversion. So, what are your conversion rates? And then how much revenue is being generated by each appointment, right? So, you're going to also have like how much revenue per room, what are the utilization rates by provider. That's the other really cool stuff we're going to be able to do with operator is you can just ask like who's my highest performing physician when it comes to revenue per hour, who's got the highest percentage of rebook, things to that nature. So there's just so much delicious data that we can finally surface up to our clients because we have all that. We are the ones who manage the payments, and we are the ones who manage the scheduling and have all of the data in between. So
Yeah, fantastic for that aligned practitioner who's making decisions for what's my next move based on that data. If they've got access to that depth of data. But for a solo practitioner or a smaller med spa that might be wondering if Podium is kind of like too big for where they are right now, what would you say to them about when it makes sense to invest in this kind of infrastructure?
you know what? It's interesting because this is going to sound like somebody who works at Podium, but it's really a good fit for every size of practice. And I'll tell you why. We have a lot of single provider, owner, operator, small, they don't have staff at all. And that's almost one of the most critical places where you need Podium because you need to be able to be with your clients all day and have somebody responding to leads that are coming in while you're with your patients all day. That's a perfect time to be able to have an AI employee to be able to just manage the leads and book the appointments so you can just be present with your patients. But then on the total other side, any high volume practice that has a high influx of leads that there's no way they could manage them all as quickly as consumer expectations are, also really nice to have Podium. So it's honestly one extreme to the other. And we do have different pricing for our single owner operators that's more affordable than your high volume practices.
Okay. Fantastic. And of course, if anybody listening wants to explore Podium for your own practice, we'll link everything up in the show notes at saltmarketing.co. So Shannon, right now it is time for our lightning round questions. These are just a few quick questions I like to ask of every guest. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready.
All right. The first question is, what's something about you that often surprises people?
I am on the terrorist list in England.
I do really want to know, but we're not going to broadcast that. So I'm going to ask you afterward how that happened.
I promise I'm not a dangerous person.
That's super funny. All right. I'm going to shift gears here. So, all right. Next question is, what is your favorite thing about the work that you do?
Oh my gosh, it's helping practices become more profitable. I am so excited for what is to come. This industry has not been well served from a software perspective, and with AI, it has allowed us to build some incredible features that will actually make you money and allow you to do it on the go. Like, I'm just excited for these practice owners. They're so burned out. I meet them all the time and they're just like, I can't take a vacation. I'm so tired. I feel alone. And like, what's coming with operators going to allow them to have the hot girl summer they deserve. So I'm so excited.
Nice. I love the way like when you talk about it, you just light up. So excited about this. I love that. All right. Next question is, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Don't say no to any adventure. I spent 29 years of my life not living, and I made a commitment to myself at 30 when I had my midlife crisis that I'm just going to say yes to go try everything. And now I have a ton of hobbies that I absolutely love that enhance my life.
I have to wonder if that's connected to the answer to the first question, but that's a topic for
It
another
is.
day.
It is.
All right, last question. Who's inspiring you right now? What podcast are you listening to, or what's the best book that you've read recently?
In touch with Terry Ross. I get so fired up when I talk to her. You talk about like me lighting up. The woman is so passionate about helping practices grow smartly and just be really strategic with their consults and driving up revenue. So always inspired by her.
Very nice. Shannon, thank you so much for joining me today on Worth Your Salt.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer, for having me.
I also want to thank you, Salt Nation. Of course, if today's conversation has you thinking I'm ready to take my marketing to the next level, that's exactly what we're here for at Salt Marketing. Our Salted Edge system is designed to help wellness practitioners like you attract new clients, convert them into loyal fans, and finally get the marketing that works without the guesswork. If you have a great success story, I'd also love to talk with you on Worth Your Salt. Tell us why you're worth your salt by emailing us at grow@saltmarketing.co. And of course, be sure to subscribe to Worth Your Salt so you never miss an episode. Finally, leave us a review or give the show a handful of stars wherever you get your content. That's all for this episode of Worth Your Salt. Be sure to join me again next time. In the meantime, let's get out there and shake things up.